Okay, so here's what your organizer looks like. So we're going to take our, so these two rows right here go together. Okay, so you'll see number one has a huge box around it. I don't know if you can see, my pointer's not working, but you can see that there's a huge box around these two rows. Okay, so for every problem that we do, we're going to start at the same number. So in this problem, we're starting at -9. My stylus isn't working. Okay, now we are going to, in one problem, we're going to start at -9, we're going to subtract. And in the other problem, we're still starting at -9, but we're going to add instead. We need to figure out how we're going to walk, but we are ending at +1 both times. Okay, so what your job is to figure out which way are we walking. Okay, now I need my number line to help me. Okay, so let's take a look at a number line so we can figure out what we're going to do. Okay, so here I have a number line from -13 to +13, and I have my characters here that are going to help me walk on the number line. So I know that I'm starting at -9, and I know I'm ending at +1. So I'm going to try and figure out which way to face and move. So I know that I have to subtract, so that means I'm going to face left because I'm subtracting. So that means I'm going to use my cat because he's facing to the left, and I'm going to start him at -9. And I need to figure out which way I'm going to move. So what I do is I put a little kind of note as to where I need to end. So I know I need to end at +1. This is where I'm ending. Okay, so I'm starting at -9, I'm ending at +1. Now, this cat is facing to the left. In order for him or her, I have no idea if it's a boy or girl, in order for this kitty to get from here to here, she needs to move backwards. So if she's moving backwards, we know that she's going to be moving in a negative direction. Now, how many? I'm going to cheat a little bit here. I know, because I know my absolute value, from -9, oh, I moved the wrong thing. Let's try that again. From -9 to 0 is 9 spaces, and then I need to move one more. So this cat needs to move backwards 10 spaces. So because I know the first number line that I did was with the subtraction, because I was facing left, and I had to walk backwards 10 spaces. So that means this number here is a -10. So my first problem is -9 minus -10 is a +1. Okay? Now that's hard for us to understand if we just said that, but when we walk on the number line, we end up in the positive. So now we're going to try and do that same problem, but instead of subtraction, we're going to change it to addition. So let's go back to our number line and see what changes for right here. And by the time we do 5 or 6 of these, we should have a pattern that we see that we can use to write a subtraction rule. So let's go back to our number line and see what happens. Okay, so here we have the same number line. We're still starting at -9, so we're starting here. And we know we're still ending at +1. But this time we want an addition problem, which means I'm going to face in the other direction. So I'm going to face to the right because it is an addition problem. Now, if I'm going to face to the right, that means I'm going to use my turtle because he's facing to the right. And how is this turtle going to move to get from -9 to +1? Well, he is first going to move forward. I keep moving the number line instead. All right, turtle. He's going to move forward, which means he's moving in the positive direction. And the number of spaces that the cat or the turtle move between these two numbers on the number line doesn't change. So instead of moving backwards, he's just moving forwards, and he's moving forward 10 spaces. So that means our number that we're going to put in our equation is a positive 10. So let's go back to our organizer and do that. So back in our organizer, the only thing, so we still started at -9, but we faced in the positive direction, so we faced to the right. And we walked instead forward 10, so that's a positive 10. And this should make sense to us because we know our addition rules already, so we can check this. A -9 plus a positive 10 equals a positive 1. So let's think about that for a second. Is that true? So now I'm going to take the opportunity to use what I know about my addition rules and ask myself if this is true. So I know a negative plus a positive. That means I'm going to have negative chips and positive chips, so I have to make 0 pairs. So I can make 9 0 pairs because I only have 9 negatives, but I have more positives, so that makes sense that my answer is positive. And I'm going to make 9 0 pairs, so that means I'm going to take my 10 positive, take away 9 of them to make my 0 pairs, which means I only have 1 chip left over. So that makes sense that my answer is a positive 1. Okay, so essentially I just explained to you how to do steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I want you to focus on what you should be trying to accomplish. Okay, so your goal, oh, let me undo that. That's terrible. Let me pick a different color. Come on. All right, so your goal is to look for a pattern between the subtraction problem for each set and its equivalent addition problem. This is going to help us come up with a rule for subtracting integers. So your goal is to look for the pattern and make a connection between the subtraction problem and addition problem, and that's going to help you write your rule. So good luck, and if you have any questions, make sure you refer back to this video before you ask me any questions.